from the 1st of December, all anti-parasitic products are becoming prescription-only medicines, so they're going to need a veterinary prescription before you can get these products supplied. All prescriptions must go through the NVPS, so that's the electronic prescribing system, and farmers can still choose where to buy these products. So if you're currently getting them from your vet, you can still get them from your vet. If you're getting them from a retailer, you can still get them from a retailer. You just need a prescription.
Hello and welcome to the Beef Edge, the Teagasc beef podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan and this is a joint podcast with Kieran Lynch, host of OviCast. Today we are diving into one of the biggest regulatory changes affecting beef and sheep farms this year. From the 1st of December, new rules on veterinary medicines came into effect as part of Ireland's national strategy to tackle antimicrobial and anti-parasitic resistance. These changes mean that a range of commonly used products will now require a veterinary prescription, and all prescriptions will be issued and recorded through the National Veterinary Prescription System, or NVPS. To help explain what this means day to day on your farm, we're joined by Rebecca Fitzpatrick, Superintending Veterinary Inspector, One Health, Vet Medicine's Antimicrobial Resistance Division with the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, to outline policy changes. Before we start, can you explain the background to the new AMR regulations and why moving certain products to prescription-only status is necessary?
So this started initially with the European regulation 2019-6 on veterinary medicinal products, and then 2019-4 on medicated feed. So this all stemmed, there's obviously a significant and rising threat to public and animal health and the environment in relation to antimicrobial resistance. This EU legislation then came into force in January 2022, and it was trying to, I suppose, help focus on this. So it was promoting the availability of different products, trying to harmonise the market. There was a sharp focus then on the prescribing and the responsible prescribing of antimicrobial products. And there was quite heavy restrictions then on the prophylaxis and metaphylactic use of these products. So in terms of veterinary prescriptions, vets really have to justify why they're prescribing an antimicrobial in particular, especially in relation to metaphylactic and prophylactic use. And they obviously have to do a clinical exam or another proper assessment then to prescribe these products. So based from those, from the European legislation, we then have our national legislation. So it's commenced then in 2022 with SI 36/2022. So that kind of enforced the European legislations. We had the Veterinary Medicinal Product, Medicated Feed and Fertilisers Regulation Act then in 2023. And that first brought in, I suppose, the concept of an electronic prescribing system, which we now know obviously is the National Veterinary Prescription System. And then last year, then in September of last year, we had SI 462/2024. So that's the Veterinary Medicinal Products Regulations. So that touched further then in relation to the National Veterinary Prescription System, or the NVPS. It also then talked about provisions that were going to come into place then in relation to the upregulation of antiparasitics. So antiparasitics are being upregulated or reclassified to prescription-only medicines. And then in October then of last year, we had 542 of 2024, which is the commencement order for the National Veterinary Prescription System. So that stated then as of January of this year, the 13th of January 2025, the National Veterinary Prescription would need to be used then to issue scripts and to dispense prescriptions. So this is needed, obviously, then, as I said, there's a significant and rising threat of antimicrobial resistance. So what that means is it's compromising then the ability to treat infections. And so it's essential then to preserve these products, to preserve the effectiveness of these products. And the same then with antiparasitic. So antiparasitic resistance also is rising. So this is why we needed to upregulate these products to prescription-only medicines.
Rebecca, like you've outlined, there's a lot of work gone into this, but you've highlighted some of the big challenges we face right across the sector in terms of AMR or anti-parasitic resistance and the need to address it. I suppose this has been in planning for a long time, but has really come to the fore now that we're looking at these changes. So maybe just from the 1st of December on, what's the big changes that farmers are going to see in terms of going for these products?
Yeah, from the 1st of December onwards, so anti-parasitic medicines are being upregulated to prescription-only medicines from this date. So what that means is while supply rates can still stay the same, a farmer can still get their prescriptions, or they can still get these products, from their vet or from a retailer. The difference is that they're going to need a prescription for them. So in terms of this, then there's just going to be a little bit more planning needed then for these products. So if you know that you're going to be dosing on a Saturday, is to try and get these prescriptions then during the week so you can get these products for when you need them.
And I suppose, like, we're talking about antiparasitics here, like the full scope of this, Rebecca, it includes our standard warmers, our flucicides, and even some of the ectoparasite products
Yeah,
that we would commonly use.
it does. So it includes all your dosing, your drenches, your injectables, your ectoparasites, your endoparasites. So it's all your prescription, all your antiparasitic medicines, including antiprotozoals.
So our dips and all that are covered under it.
They are. So it'll
Okay.
cover the full cohort.
And Rebecca, in relation to the NVPS system, from a farmer perspective, how are they going to receive their prescriptions going forward?
So with the NVPS, so what happens, I just do a quick run through of how it works. So the vet will go out and do a clinical exam on an animal or a proper assessment, and they're going to then prescribe these products. So they prescribe the product using the NVPS. So the NVPS will run through the full prescription with the vet. This then goes to the NVPS database, and a farmer then gets a text message, an SMS text message for any undispensed products that he needs to collect. So this 16-digit code, then the prescription ID code, this is what the farmer is going to bring into a retailer if they're getting their product dispensed elsewhere away from the veterinary clinic. So they'll show the 16-digit code to the vet, either on their phone by holding up their phone or by writing it down, or a vet can also print out an undispensed prescription if the farmer would like a copy of this. So they'll show this to the retailer. The retailer then will put the 16-digit code onto the dispensing NVPS page. They'll be able to see the full prescription and they can dispense the product. And then once the retailer dispenses the product, the farmer then gets an email of their dispensed prescription through to them. If for some reason they don't have an email account or they don't have an email address registered, the retailer also can print out a copy of the dispensed prescription.
And will farmers be able to shop around and go to one merchant for one product and a different merchant for a different product, or buy some product if the vet is selling products, or how would that work?
Yeah, they can. So with the prescription ID, so there's an overall prescription ID, but there's also what's known as a line item ID. So if there's a couple of products on a prescription, each product will have its own individual 16-digit line item ID. So that'll allow farmers to get one product in one location and another in another location. They can also get, I suppose, if there's a product on a prescription and they don't need the full amount, they can also, I suppose, get they can partially collect one of the products. And when they go back, then they can also get the remainder of that product filled out in another retailer as well. So the NVPS will automatically update the quantity that was dispensed initially, and they can get the remaining quantity dispensed in another retailer.
When farmers are going in, I suppose from the vet's perspective of what they need to do, and you touched on some of it there, and even from the farmer's perspective, there's probably a couple of key things you need to know in terms of the quantity, what they're using it for. Could you maybe just tease that out a little bit for us?
Yeah, I suppose there's two ways the farmers are going to be able to get prescriptions now. One is by going to the vet that they normally use, or the vet that treats their farm. And in that case, they can ask that vet for a prescription. The other option then is what's been brought in the national legislation in the veterinary medicinal products is that there's a proper assessment protocol. So what this means is that a retailer can work with a vet and they can the farmer can go into the retailer and they can give information then through this protocol. So this will cover things like, I suppose, the category of animals that they have on their farm, husbandry practices, previous antiparasitic use, any evidence of antiparasitic resistance, any fecal egg count scores, things like that. They can give this information to the responsible person in the retailer, or they can fill out the form themselves and hand it into the retailer. And this will pass on then to the vet that's working with the retailer, which will allow them then to prescribe a product for the farmer. Obviously, the vet can contact that farmer as well if they need any further queries answered or any further questions in relation to any of the information provided.
And Rebecca, the length of that prescription, so I'm assuming it's different for your antimicrobials versus your antiparasitics. How long would that prescription last?
Yeah, so for an antimicrobial product, it's 5 days. So in EU legislation, they've limited it 5 days for the validity of an antimicrobial prescription. For an antiparasitic or any other prescription-only medicine, the validity period is 6 months.
So like we're talking here, this is a change in mindset and we need to forward think. Obviously, there's times a year where there will be a couple of treatments that, are scheduled in, like we're in winter now, so there might be fluke treatments or ectoparasite treatments. It can cover more than one product under that prescription.
Yeah. It can. So you can get multiple products on a prescription.
Okay. You also mentioned there with the NVPS, it'll be a form of record keeping as well for farmers, whether it be what you actually got prescription for and more importantly, what was dispensed. So when we go back completing records, it is a useful resource at that point.
It is, yeah, and it would definitely be very handy, I think, for record keeping. So the farmers will have a text message of their undispensed prescription, and they'll also then have the email of their dispensed products. And then also just on their My Ag Food, 2 weeks ago, then a system went live for farmers are going to be able to view their prescriptions on this on an NVPS portal on their My Ag Food. So I think the caveat as well with this is just to ensure that everyone just checks that their name, their herd number and their name is an exact match in the prescription to what is on their My Ag Food, just in relation to the data protection regulations. But we just need to have that as an exact match for it to feed through.
Okay, so Rebecca, just like the tease us now, one of the practical things to make up is the vet will prescribe the name of the product when you get to what the active is. If that isn't available in the particular store the person goes, can an alternative be swapped in?
Yeah, so there is what's known as the list of comparable products. So if a farmer goes into a retailer and they have a prescription for product A and the retailer doesn't have that product in place, there is for multiple products comparable that can be, or comparable or a couple of comparables that can be dispensed in that place. So when the retailer logs into the NVPS, they can click down then a drop down box then to view comparable products. And in that case, then they can dispense, if they have one of the products, the comparable products they can dispense that product in its place. And the NVPS then will update in terms of quantities if there's a different strength and the withdrawal periods.
And Rebecca, based on the fact that you mentioned there that the script will only last for 6 months, looking forward, looking at dose and product availability and planning, how is that going to impact farmers and suppliers, how they're going to purchase and store products?
Yeah, so I think it's what we've tried to advise people is it's really worth, I suppose, we're going to have to start thinking about this before you need to dose and before you need to do it. It's really worthwhile as well if you're getting your product from your retailers, is talk to your retailers as well. If you're using a vet that's linking with the retailer, is obviously that vet is going to know what products are on the shelves in the retailer also, which can help. But it's to talk to the retailer in relation to getting these.
Rebecca, we've talked a lot about the anti-parasitics coming in, but antimicrobials will be on this system as well. So whether it be directly dispensed in store, it probably doesn't change things much there because that's how it's happened anyway. But if a vet was out on farm, late night call, whatever it was, that will also now be up on the system as well.
Yes, it will. So every prescription-only medicine will be on the system, so including your antimicrobials. So when a vet goes out on farm and administers or dispenses a product themselves, this will also be on the NVPS, and you will get an email then of your dispensed prescription also in that case for their records.
Rebecca, it might be fair to say there could be a little bit of a misconception about this, that we don't want usage at all. I think that's not the case. It's solely focused on responsible usage.
Exactly. It's to focus on responsible usage. So we definitely want usage, and we know obviously that if an animal needs treatment, we want that treatment to be given. But that is trying to focus more on responsible prescribing and responsible use. So it's, I suppose, to make sure then the right diagnosis for the right animal. You want to give the right medication at the right dosage and duration, and ensure then that these products are obviously stored and disposed of correctly also. So we want these products to be dispensed when they need to be dispensed.
Based on the changes that's come in, I suppose there's a lot to learn from what we've discussed there. What supports or guidance will the department provide for farmers or vets and suppliers to help them adapt for this new process going forward?
There's a couple of things that the department have done. So I suppose on the www.gov.ie/NVPS, there are guidance documents there. So in relation to prescribing and to dispensing of products, and we will be adding further information then to this. We also have an admin helpline. So we have both an email and a phone contact for this. So the email address is nvps@agriculture.gov.ie, and the contact number is 015058832. And there's an admin team there. You'll go straight through to the NVPS admin team. You won't be passed around to different numbers. They'll be able to assist as well or give any guidance that's needed.
Look, Rebecca, you've covered a lot in that. Obviously, some big changes coming in. Do you want to just recap on a couple of key things that farmers need to be aware of as of the 1st of December?
Yeah, so the main thing from the 1st of December, certain all anti-parasitic products are becoming prescription-only medicines, so they're going to need a veterinary prescription before you can get these products supplied. All prescriptions must go through the NVPS, so that's the electronic prescribing system, and farmers can still choose where to buy these products. So if you're currently getting them from your vet, you can still get them from your vet. If you're getting them from a retailer, you can still get them from a retailer. You just need a prescription. So whether you get that prescription from your own vet or a vet that is working with a retailer, either can do this prescription for you. And then it's also just to start, I suppose, planning earlier with your vet, especially during the busy season. So if you're getting your prescription otherwise from a vet, you're working with your retailer, is just to talk to your retailer. It's just there's going to be some work needed before you get these products then dispensed.
That's great, Rebecca. Look, really appreciate you coming on and giving us that update.
Thanks very much, Rebecca.
Thank you.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Kieran and Rebecca for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Kat Regan, and thanks for listening.